Hi guys, I am going to show you how to remove and replace wheel bearings of TVS Apache RTR. This video consists of removing rear wheel and chain sprocket from motorcycle, removing bearings from wheel hub, cleaning the bearing housing, replacing with new wheel bearings and then fitting the rear wheel back to the motorcycle. First of all, we are going to remove the rear wheel axle nut by holding one end with the screwdriver and open the nut using a spanner. Loosen this nut and take it out. Just tap the axle and pull it out. Using a screwdriver, just gently tap it. Now the axle is removed. Take out the disc brake caliper. Just using a screwdriver, just increase the gap between the pads and take the caliper out. This is the distance piece. Keep it safely. Now just slightly tilt the vehicle and take the rear wheel out from the motorcycle. Now the rear wheel has been removed. Now we are going to remove the bearings from the wheel hub. First of all, clean the bearings. If there is any dirt in the way of bearings, then the bearing wheel may get stuck in there. So clean the places. Now this is just a simple representation showing the alloy wheel and the hub. The inside of the hub consists of one big bearing and spacer and one small bearing. And for removing this bearing, we have to take one rod and insert it through the small bearing, and then justly tilt the spacer and then hammer the rod. So the rod rests on the inner race of the big bearing. Once you hammer the rod, then the big bearing will come out. This is what we are going to do. So after cleaning the bearing which we are going to take out, just invert the wheel. Take a screwdriver or a rod which can easily go through the bearing. I am taking this screwdriver. I am trying to tilt the spacer. But if you are unable to tilt the spacer, then just keep the wheel like this and put the axle and slightly hammer it, so that the bearings will move slightly and you will get a space to tilt the spacer. Yeah, now keep it like that. Carefully keep it above the wooden planks. Now it is easier to tilt the spacer. The spacer is now free. So just tilt the spacer and keep the screwdriver on the inner race of the other bearing and tap it out. Yeah, it is just simple. There is no any other tool needed. Just by doing like this, the bearing will come out. Yeah, it is now coming out. Keep it again and just keep it properly and gently tap it out. Yeah, now the bearing and spacer has come out. We have to take the another bearing now. Just clean the place near this bearing so that it may not get stuck here. After cleaning, just invert it and take a rod or a screwdriver and just gently tap it so that bearing will come out. That's all. That bearing has come out. Just clean the hub, clean the spacer also. Now we are going to inspect the sprocket bearing. First of all, loosen this nut. This is the nut holding the sprocket wheel. Loosen this nut and remove it. Yeah, slightly reduce the chain tension so that the chain can be removed. And then pull out, take it out. Just push it and take it out. Just tapping to reduce the tension in the chain. Now the sprocket wheel has come out. Now this is the bearing which we are going to remove, but I am not going to remove here. For removing this bearing, you have to tap this place. You have to tap it out, tap, and then bearing will come out from here. I am not going to remove the bearing because this bearing, my bearing is good only actually. It is functioning good, so I am not going to remove it. So I am going to put it back. Just keep the flat side and insert it. Then put the chain across it. Keep the chain on the wheel and just slightly turn it. Turn the sprocket wheel so that the chain will sit on the sprocket wheel. Now put the nut and tighten it. Now we are going to change with new bearing. This is the new bearing. Slightly grease the inside of the hub. The bearings must be kept at least half an hour in the freezer, so that it contracts, so that the bearing can go inside easily. I have kept it in the freezer for some time, and then before installing, before I brought it and kept it here. Now keep the bearing on top of it and slightly tap it with wooden piece. You can use some Teflon rod or any soft material to tap this. Don't tap it hard, just slightly gently tap it so that the bearing will go. The bearing is kept in the fridge. Once it becomes cold, it contracts so that it can get inside the hub easily. I'm going to put the spacer inside. Take the clean spacer and apply some grease and insert it. Keep it in the position. Then comes the another bearing. This also kept in the fridge and brought just before. No need to apply grease in the bearing because already it is having grease. I am applying little bit of grease only. Too much of grease also may overheat and may cause the bearing to damage. Keep the bearing and slightly tap it with wooden piece. Yeah, now the bearing went inside. Once you hear a metal to metal knocking sound, then stop hammering. Yeah, now we are going to put it inside the motorcycle. Slightly tilt the vehicle and um, fit the wheel. Keep the distance piece and put the axle, then fit the brake caliper. Now the brake caliper is kept in place and then push the axle so that the axle comes out. Yeah, now the axle is in position. Put the washer and nut and then tighten it. That's all. Thanks for watching.